for the first time ever, my brain was literally blank. And I can't even describe how that is because it's just the weirdest feeling. You have not a single thought in your head.
Like not a thought behind those eyes at all.
At all.
This episode of the Tooth or Dare podcast is brought to you by our friends at Philips Sonicare. Thank you for helping dental professionals elevate oral care with your partnership and dedication. Philips Sonicare offers comprehensive oral care solutions catering to the entirety of our patients' needs. To achieve a healthier oral environment for your patients and provide them with a more radiant smile, Philips Sonicare provides an array of products designed to optimize their oral hygiene regimen. These offerings are meticulously crafted to ensure optimum efficiency, allowing clinicians to tailor their brushing experiences accordingly to their specific patient needs and requirements, whether it be teeth whitening, enhanced plaque removal, or overall gum health. Sonicare electric toothbrushes harness an impressive technology boasting 62,000 brush head movements per minute. This innovative approach gently pulses water between the teeth, effectively dislodging plaque and facilitating its removal. Backed by over a century of healthcare expertise, Philips Sonicare instills confidence in users, and it's consistently helping us clinicians get the results we desire. For more information about Philips Sonicare products, please visit the link in the caption below. And welcome back to another episode of the Tooth or Dare podcast, peeps, with your peep, Irene, here with a very special human to share some very special news about what we're doing with the podcast.
Yes. Thank you for the introduction.
There's the small, very special human with no name at all.
No name.
I want to introduce you all to Vic.
Hey, peeps.
Cheering in the background. I need to know, have you officially changed your last name yet?
I have.
Are you still
actually.
Sibley or no?
No, I'm now Armaly.
Armaly.
I am Armaly.
Victoria Armaly.
Arms for short. Anyway,
this is going to be fun because Vic, we'll talk about how Vic and I met and what the plan is with the podcast.
Yes.
But Vic is a friend of mine from before working together, and now she's an employee. And they say that you should never work with people that you are friends with. So far, so good.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. But we've kind of, I mean, for those people that have been watching on Instagram and following along on my Instagram page, like there's been some changes.
Mm-hmm.
We've changed the content, the quality, the vibe, the like educational components, and a lot of that has to do with like the team that we've grown and built.
Yeah, great team.
You being one of them.
Yeah.
Great team. She leaned in. Great
team.
And the podcast by extension has always been like me and a co-host,
mm-hmm.
but we get a lot of DMs.
We do get a lot of DMs.
And people don't realize that I don't read all of them. And a lot of my team reads them.
Sometimes it's me.
Sometimes it's Vic. And we get a lot of questions. So it seems as though the content needs to change because people still have questions that are practical questions.
Yep. And a lot of them are repeat questions as well. So
yeah,
it's helpful for a lot of people to hear the answer without having to reach out. You can just go to the podcast and find the answer.
Or we can like direct them.
Yeah.
Right? Like direct them to where that question came from and just do episodes on some of those questions. Of course, like keeping in interviews and clinical content. But we decided to do it here, internal, in my op.
Yes. Op Talk.
Welcome to Op Talk. I can't even say that fast. Op Talk.
Op Talk, Op Talk, Op Talk.
So options were Op Talk or cues from the op, questions from the op. We think we should do a poll of what we want them to be called.
Op Talk or cues from the op.
I like the cues from the op.
Cues from the op is cool.
I feel like we could do something cute with the font work of the cue.
You could.
And the branding side.
Mm-hmm.
We're still working on Alexandra, who is my social media manager lurking in the background. She's going to be the one spearheading that. Yeah. So the goal for today is just to kind of introduce you to the people because you have a very interesting story. Yeah. And how you ended up working for me.
Yes.
Was a very unique thing that happened to you.
Yes.
Where Vic, so like I'm going to start from the end and then she's going to tell her story. But Vic and I met in dental hygiene, in restorative dental hygiene school. And then like within a year after you had a head injury.
A year. Yeah.
Within a year after you had a head injury, you fell on the ice.
Skiing.
You hit your head on the ice while you were skiing.
Yes.
and then we'll talk about that. But then you had to leave working clinical.
Yeah.
So like, but you were an educator before that. And one of the reasons why I hired you is because of you have the same brain as I do. I would have hated for you to like leave dental and not like that working in sales or staying in dental, but working in a different capacity wouldn't have been fulfilling for you. But I know like how much you love teaching. So anyway, start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Where do you live? Where did you come? Like, what was birth like? Tell me about
your favorite question.
My favorite question.
Birth was great.
Yeah. Your mom's amazing.
Yeah. It was easy for me.
It did no work.
I am from North Bay, Ontario. Technically in Northern Ontario, but it's pretty central, I would say. It's like Northern Ontario, when I think of that, it's like Thunder Bay. You know, there's so much more up north. But anyway.
It's like a 3-hour drive.
3.5
from where my office is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I went to dental hygiene there. I worked for a few years.
Where'd you go to school?
Canadore College. Yeah. I worked for a few years in North Bay, and then I left the practice I was at there and went to Parry Sound, the practice in Parry Sound.
Which is how far?
Hour and a half.
Away, further from here?
No.
Or closer?
Closer. It's near Georgian Bay. It's on Georgian Bay. Yeah, it's in the Muskokas. Beautiful place. Loved it there.
What's the like patient demographic in those?
It's very different than Toronto. So, I mean, when I lived in Toronto and in restorative, I also worked here as a temp, and very different.
Like
a lot less
vibes.
Yeah. A lot less insurance. Like people don't really have a lot of insurance. You can have a lot of more government assisted programs than I saw in Toronto, and I'm sure
ODSP,
that you see. Yeah. NIHB, OW.
What's OW?
Ontario Works.
Oh, Ontario Works. Yeah.
So a very different demographic, and it's more so people just do maintenance. They're not interested in the fancy, aesthetic things or anything like that. But yeah, so different.
So like the human demographic, what would you say? Like, is it like farm country? Are there a lot of farmers or?
Not where I am.
Yeah.
Outside of North Bay for sure. Callander, Powassan, those places. But in North Bay, 50,000 people. So it's a city.
Yeah.
Small city.
How many denists? Do you know, like roughly? Are there a lot or not a lot?
Yeah, there's a lot. I would say probably 10 to 15, something around there.
Cute. There's 10 to 15 dentists. So there's a lot of dentists. Yeah, there's like 10 to 15 of them on my street.
Very different.
Adorable.
Yeah, it's very different. Parry Sound was probably my favorite place to work. And I think there was about 5 or 6 dentists there. Yeah.
Why'd you like that?
Parry Sound was just beautiful. The people were so nice, so friendly. It just kind of felt like home. My office was awesome. We all got along. We were friends. We all did stuff after work.
That's cute.
Yeah. And it wasn't, we all respected each other. And if somebody had an idea or brought new information, new technology, new methods, we all listened to it and we would all be excited about it, So there wasn't any pushback when it comes to dental things. We all were interested in learning.
That's
so it was cool. Yeah, it was really cool. And then so worked in Parry Sound, then moved to Toronto for restorative.
What made you want to get into restorative?
The dentist I was working for actually suggested it. He said, hey, I need somebody else to work with me. I don't really want to hire an associate. I would rather have you go back to school for restorative and work with me.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And I love learning. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Did he pay for your restorative?
He paid for part of it, yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like? Were you just like, hey, this is the cost?
Yep.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Or did he offer it?
He offered it. He said, yeah, I'll pay for part of your course. And so I said, okay, this is the tuition. And he said,
how much was it again? Was it like 17,000?
Yeah, 18, something like that. Yeah. And then he just sent me money.
Zaddy.
Yeah. Shout out to Dave.
Shout out to Dave. Send gifts.
Yeah.
763 Woodbine Avenue, Unit A.
We love gifts.
We love gifts.
Yeah. So then went to restorative, went back to Parry Sound and worked in that office doing restorative. I did it 2 days a week, sometimes 3. And then hygiene.
We were going to do a whole episode on restorative, like on our program. And Fun fact, I was like going to blog my way through the whole program and I never shared the reason why I didn't do it, but I think it's time.
It's time.
Tis time.
It is time.
But we'll do a whole restorative
We'll
dental
get
hygiene
into that.
episode.
Yeah.
So you worked a couple of days a week?
Altogether I worked 4 days. Like the office was only open Monday to Thursday, which was also really nice.
Yeah.
And then so I did 2 to 3 days restorative and then sometimes 2 to 1 day hygiene, depending. Yeah.
And then skiing.
Yeah. So then
would you consider yourself to be a good skier?
No.
Would you consider yourself to be like, how would you rate yourself in your level of skiing compared to the level of slope you were going down?
Okay, so it was a small hill.
Like a bunny hill?
No, not a bunny hill.
Like a medium bunny.
It was
like a hare, not a bunny, but like what's the size of the rabbit between bunny and like the wild
like a teenager
ones?
bunny.
Okay.
You know?
He was like 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so my lovely husband came home for 2 days from work and he said, "Do you want to go skiing or snowmobiling?" And I said, "Oh, let's go skiing. We haven't done that in a while." And little did I know.
So you strapped up your boots and you're like, was it like your first run down?
Nope.
No.
So
we had been warmed up.
Yeah, we had been skiing all day.
Oh.
And we didn't get a lot of snow it was 2023, the winter. Didn't get a lot of snow, so it was mostly
Was that the year we were supposed to go ice fishing, but we didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Wasn't that this year? You came ice fishing that year. That was the year you went ice fishing.
I went ice fishing.
I was like newly recovered.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And I was concerned about you. Oh, so that's why I didn't take you on the snowmobile.
Yes.
Because you had just recovered from your concussion and you were worried that I might throw you off the snowmobile. So you're like, I'm just going to walk.
I walked. Yeah.
So I was like the chauffeur of everyone and it was the motion. Yeah. So I remember, okay, so you're right. You walked to which was a very long walk on the lake. Like the little hut, the ice fishing hut was like really far into the lake. And like this was just like hiking through the wilderness, snow up to her knees.
Just another day in the life.
Yeah, I was okay. I remember that now.
Yeah. So it was like the last run. We're like, oh, let's do one last run.
It's always
wasn't a lot of snow. Opening day. The hill was rutted.
Yeah.
Crazy rutted. Anyway, so I just hit a rut, ended up backwards, fell directly backwards, hit my head so hard that my helmet flew off.
No.
Like my helmet was on very secure, but it flew off. Tumbled down the hill. Yeah.
Did you pass out? Were you unconscious?
So this has been kind of the trying to figure out if that happened or not, because at first I didn't think I did, but then all these stories that I'm hearing, like from my husband and everything like that, he's like, yeah, like you were laying there for a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Like how many minutes is a little bit?
I don't think it was a full minute. Like it was a few seconds, I think.
Yeah.
Like they stopped the ski lift and people were yelling at me, "Hey, are you okay?"
No way.
Yeah. And anyway, so then I put my helmet back on, put my skis back on and skied down the rest of the hill.
Oh, you did? They didn't call anyone to come and
I think they were about to, but it just didn't get to that point because I got up and went down. And the crazy part was I didn't even feel like I had a concussion at first. I didn't have a headache. I didn't have anything. My head just, I hit my head. That was it.
Were you bleeding or anything?
Nope.
Like laceration?
Nope. So it was a few days later before I started feeling symptoms of a concussion. And they just basically said, "Oh, okay, go rest for a little bit." And then.
So what were those symptoms? Like how did it all start?
Headaches, dizzy, super dizzy.
Like vertigo dizzy? Like holding onto the walls level dizzy?
Yeah, like even laying down dizzy.
Wow.
Yeah, like nothing would take away the dizziness. Headaches, light sensitivity, noise sensitivity. It was a long journey of recovery.
Yeah.
Anyway, I eventually recovered.
Obviously.
And then I didn't. Yeah.
Right.
So I was good for a few months after that. And then.
So how long did it take you from the dizziness part?
Mm-hmm.
And then you went to a hospital?
It was a few days, but then I had to go back a second time. So it was a few days. They didn't do a scan or anything. They just said, okay, like rest and then, get back to activities in a few days. So I tried to do that and obviously it didn't go well. So then went back. They did, actually, no, sorry. I started losing my speech at that point.
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Wait. So you were feeling all of these symptoms. You told them you hit your head. You told them you were unconscious. And then you were still having these symptoms. And then they didn't take a CT. Like, what if you had a bleed?
Yeah, so they didn't do the CT scan the first time because my symptoms they were just very minor at first. And then they progressively got worse over a few days.
Okay.
So then I had trouble forming words. I couldn't think of anything for the first time ever. My brain was literally blank. And I can't even describe how that is because it's just the weirdest feeling. You have not a single thought in your head.
Like not a thought behind those eyes at all.
At all. And I'm someone who has
You're
a
always
million
thinking.
thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it was very weird. Very weird. And then I went back to the
So
hospital.
you're just
They did
like
a scan.
staring at a wall.
Yeah. Just
Just
nothing.
staring.
Just a body alive.
Just a shell of a human.
Yeah.
A soul.
Yeah.
But not a thought.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
It is. It was. And you never know how you're going to recover from a brain injury, right? Nobody knows. Anyway, I went back to the hospital. They did a scan. There was no bleeding. It was fine. It just took time. Yeah.
Did they give you any meds or anything to like?
I was taking 22 vitamins a day.
Vitamins?
Yeah, there's a bunch of vitamins that help with cognitive function.
Like what?
Riboflavin, fish oil. I was taking 10 like fish oils a day, and like those things are huge.
Can't you just drink it at that point?
Vitamin 2 or vitamin 12, one of them. Yeah, there's a bunch.
Like B2, B12s.
Yeah.
That's a lot of vitamins.
It was a lot. So then, I got better and I was back to work. That was January. I was back to work part-time end of March, beginning of April, and then full-time by May.
But you had a hard time. Like I remember having conversations with you throughout that time and you were like, it was torture. Wearing loops was torture.
Yeah, I couldn't wear my loops for a while.
Yeah. And doing restorative without loops, like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
If anyone's watching this and you do restorative, that like no shade to you, but like, I don't know how your margins are.
I wasn't doing restorative.
Because that's tough.
I didn't do restorative during my recovery process. I was just doing hygiene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was only seeing 2 patients a day.
It's still.
Yeah. And then I was good all summer. And then in the fall, I started getting symptoms again. So I'd get pressure in my head again. I would start getting wraparound headaches, pressure behind my eyes. And I still have that today. And anyway, it just progressively got worse to the point where my hands started going numb. I couldn't do procedures anymore because I didn't have the dexterity really to do those fine movements. My toes started going numb. My fingers.
Not your toes.
Yeah. My like half of my foot, half of my hands. Yeah.
Really?
So anyway, still waiting for an MRI since March.
That's crazy.
Yeah. To see what's happening. But that's my journey. And that's how I ended up at Toothlife.
Well, there's more to how she ended up at Toothlife.
There is, but
that's interesting. I wonder how many people have injuries. I mean, I know that people have mucoskeletal injuries, neck injuries, arm injuries, back injuries. Did you notice during your head trauma phase, aside from like the numbness and stuff that happened late stage, did it affect your posture? Did it affect your neck, your like when you were working, were you compensating in a certain way?
So I had really bad whiplash as well.
Oh.
So I was doing physio and everything. And basically like all of my muscles in my neck were just seized pretty much. So yeah, working was hard. And then I would get pressure just at the base of my skull all the time. Yeah.
Did a massage or anything help? Physio, any of that stuff? Or not
I got
really?
like dry needling a lot. That helped for a certain period of time.
That's like acupuncture.
Kind of, yeah. They like poke the muscle.
The fascia, right?
Yeah, stimulate it. And so it did help a little bit, but eventually it just stopped helping. So it just got to that point. And then I was, I had to make a decision, basically. It's at some point it's unsafe for me to be working when my hand is going numb.
I admire you so much for making that decision because I think we all know someone that has been practicing for far longer than they should be.
Yes.
And I don't know about dental hygienists because I don't really know dental hygienists that have done that before.
Yeah.
We're more easier to turn off to hang up our scalers.
Yeah.
Primarily because you often don't own your own practice. But when you do own your own practice, it's hard to
give it up.
Yeah.
Or you just don't want to retire because for whatever reason, you don't want to be home, or
it's true.
You love it so much.
Yeah.
But I admire you a great deal for doing that like so young, right?
It's very difficult. I love hygiene and I love restorative.
I know.
Very difficult. I would go back in a heartbeat. I really would.
You want to clean my teeth later?
Yeah.
I'm due.
Yeah.
I got a text message from my office saying, Irene, it's time for your next hygiene visit.
I've been getting those for like a year. I've been ignoring them.
I do you do me.
Yeah.
No, but I really do admire you, because like some people would have just stuck around.
Yeah.
But you still hold your license. Like you still have your license.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're still paying for it.
And like I can still practice.
Sure.
It's just not a full day, or, not 4 consecutive
But
days
you
in a
haven't
row.
in how long now?
Well, that was at beginning of May, I think.
May,
Yeah.
June, July, August, September. So it's been 4 months.
Yeah, end of April.
So I remember that conversation where you were like, I don't know if I can still do this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can still do it. And I was like, well, and you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You were concerned that you didn't know what your career was going to be. I'm like, well, I'll give you a job. And you're like, what will I do? I'm like, I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And like we had an official meeting, a Zoom meeting, where it was an interview for a job that didn't exist.
So what will I be doing every day?
I'm like, I don't know. This is what I'll pay you. I'll put you on salary.
Okay,
like,
cool.
We'll figure
Sounds
it out.
good.
And you're like, okay. And I'm like, well, let me know when you decide to like officially quit.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me. You're like, so I gave him it was like a month notice that you gave him.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, great. And then your first day of work was ODA.
Yep.
So at ODA, I brought a laptop and I was like, so this is where you log in.
Yeah.
This is where some stuff is. And you're like, so what do I do first? I'm like, just talk to Holly.
Yeah.
My sister Holly. At the time, she was my EA. Now she's my director. I was like, just talk to Holly. She'll get you all set up. She'll get you an email.
Yeah.
She'll get you figured out. The job that
it was an adjustment.
We did.
It's just very different, right?
Yeah.
But I'm so thankful that I still get to use all my dental knowledge and still am involved in dental.
Yeah.
And even kind of, I would say more so, I like that it's really research focused. Like sometimes when you're in practice, you don't really have time, we'll say, to like do a deep dive endlessly on research and stuff like that. So it is cool. Like it's kind of more of the education research side of it, which is, I like that.
So we skipped over the entire part where you were a teacher.
Oh, so
you taught at Canadore.
Well, yeah, I was a clinical instructor. Yeah. Forgot about that.
So, fun fact.
No, I was a clinical instructor.
So Vic taught at the school she graduated from, her alma, and I taught at my alma mater, which was like another reason why we connected, because being teachers is kind of cool.
I loved it.
I did too, but it was like minimum wage. It was less than minimum wage.
Oh, mine wasn't.
It was bad.
It's less than hygiene for sure.
Considering how much time you put into stuff, and like the more you put into your course load and your evaluations and your one-on-ones with your students, like the time just somehow.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunately not a very profitable. No one's getting rich being a dental hygiene teacher.
Unless you're full-time permanent
program director. And even still, I think they're significantly undervalued if you compare to a program director in any other program. But we could talk about teaching in a different episode. Another episode.
Anyway,
on another episode.
I also would go back to teaching.
V and I.
Yeah.
Vicreen.
Yeah.
Vic. Op talk with IV.
Yeah. No, I would go back to teaching for sure though. But I would like to do more theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm getting my degree.
Oh yeah, fun fact. While she's working full-time, she's also getting a degree.
Full-time student also.
Student at GB, George Brown.
Yeah, GBC.
Doing
Honours Bachelor of Science in Dental Hygiene.
Yeah, and is this the first class? Are you part of the second class?
Yeah.
So it's the second class that George Brown has offered this degree completion.
Yeah.
Which in Canada, I think there's only 2. Is it BC that has a degree completion? I don't even know if they have a degree completion or if it's just a degree itself.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
Alberta?
I mean, very few institutions in Canada have degree completions. Most of the dental hygienists that graduate in Canada have associates, what the Americans call an associate's degree.
Yeah.
So you got in and you're doing it, and I applied. Let's see. I wonder if I'll get in. Maybe I'll get in.
I'm sure you will.
Originally the like application said that you had to be a George Brown graduate, and I think they changed that pretty quick.
They did change it.
Yeah, pretty quick. So I was like, what do you mean I can't get in? I don't qualify.
But technically you are a George Brown graduate
for restorative though, not for dental hygiene.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, no, it's actually pretty cool. You learn a lot. I mean, a lot of it you kind of already know. Well, just depending on where you are in dental, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, as an educator, you have a little bit more insight. And and a lot of the work, people are probably wondering, so like, what do you do for Irene? You do a lot of the research behind stuff. Yeah. So like all of the content that we put out, all of the posts we put out, all of the resources, all of that stuff needs to be researched. We're not just like slapping things on a piece of paper and calling it a protocol.
Yep.
So like you do all of the evidence-based research. I come up with crazy ideas and you're like, actually, that's wrong. And I love that we can debate about what happens and what we put out there.
Yeah.
So I think we do audits of like other people's accounts and other platforms that put out educational content. And I don't want to say use the word cringe, but like sometimes we do cringe when we know that like research actually says something completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need to be mindful that.
Yeah. And not every hygienist also, I mean, obviously you take courses in hygiene, but not every hygienist knows how to critically assess research either, right? That's a big part of it. And make sure it's creditable and
third party.
Yeah.
Ideally unsponsored or not paid for by the company that is. And how it's positioned, like comparing an apple to an apple, not comparing an apple to an orange.
Exactly.
So Vic does a lot of that. She anytime we have any piece of content that goes out that's scientifically based, it's like an internal requirement that there's research.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which you guys probably hate me for.
No,
Alexandra probably does.
I enjoy it. I really do. I like learning about new things and I do think reading research articles is so valuable, and all those clinical trials are valuable. Yeah. And it's good to know. You learn something new every day.
So that's the plan. So the plan is we're going to do some of these episodes together and answer some questions from DMs or email or wherever people send them to. And I know you've got one lined up for today.
Sure
Why don't we
do.
end with one today?
Okay. So
want to read it?
Well,
read it.
I want to do a restorative one today because we've been talking about restorative a lot. And a lot of the questions I see are asking about the school process.
Yeah.
What it was like. Can you work while you're doing the program? And I think it's good to talk about, and how you incorporate it into your practice. So what the schedule looks like.
Yeah. I feel like that's going to be a whole episode.
It is going to be a whole
episode. And we're
episode.
already behind in our time. Okay, so no question today.
This is
but
just
we're
the
going to
intro.
end it with a very fun fact and a time lapse competition, because Vic is my only friend.
Really? Your only friend?
That can do a Rubik's Cube.
Huh. Only friend, eh?
I mean, I have only 3 other friends.
One of them's Lou.
One of them is Lou.
He doesn't have thumbs.
So should we race?
Oh, I don't know about the race. You'll do it first.
We're gonna
pressure
put our
of the
mics down,
camera.
And you mix yours and you mix mine, and then we'll switch them. Ready? Okay. Here we go. No.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Set.
Go. That was pretty long for me, actually.
Me too, and I messed it up. Did you see me mess it up?
No.
Oh, we watched back. I did the wrong move.
Oh no.
I lost.
I was so nervous. I was like, I have to win.
Also, prerequisite for working here is you must be competitive. Good job, Vic.
Good job.
Right, stay tuned for more op talk with Vic.
Maybe more Rubik's.
Yeah. Aqua or Rubik's?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Peace out, peeps.
Bye.